All right, we don't have an official clock, but up here at local time, it's time to start this meeting. Good evening and welcome to the October 16th meeting of the Oconee Planning Commission. We are a recommending body to the Oconee Board of Commissioners, and decisions made here tonight on rezoning requests and other issues will be forwarded to the Oconee BOC for final action. Tonight's agenda and sign-up sheets were out front. I see some of you. You still could come up if you hear something and you want to speak about it, but you're going to come up tonight. Here's how we do it. The Oconee Plan Department staff presents their report and their recommendations on each of the requests. I'll open the public input from the petitioner and the petitioner's representative. Then I'll ask for any group wanting to talk in favor of it. This period will last about 20 minutes. I need to keep clock. The public input will then be asked for anybody that's opposed. Again, I'll give you about 20 minutes. The petitioner's representative is allowed to use any time he might have left to do a response or clarifications. And at that point, after I've heard from everybody that wants to speak on each request, I'll close the public input, bring it up here to the guys on the commission, and discuss and get our questions answered. There's a staff or the petitioner. And upon the quieting down of questions, I'll ask for motions and at that time. So as a code of conduct, we ask that you come up to the podium, give us your name and your address when you arrive at the podium. Direct your comments to the Planning Commission, please, not to the audience. And if there are multiple speakers on any one of the requests, please avoid repeating what the other guy said. You can say ditto and then point out a couple other things if you have them. And then we ask the audience to extend the courtesy of not applauding comments from their seats, any speakers. So with that, I'll ask my commissioners if you've had a chance to read the minutes last meeting and ask if there's any questions, corrections. See anybody trying to get my attention, so I'll ask, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Minutes, all right, I hear it. Nathan, a second. I'll second. All right, so I have a first and a second. I get a raise in the right hand if you. That will start with our first request. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Your first case this evening is P230164, William C. Ross, applicant and owner. This is located in Chestnut Glen on properties parcel C02Y006 and C02Y001AA. It is currently zoned AR in the suburban neighborhood character area, and they're requesting a rezone modification to combine the amenity lot, which was required by the previous rezone, with the adjacent residential lot. Staff recommends conditional approval with our one standard condition. Thank you.
I get the applicant or applicant's representative to come up.
Hey.
David.
Bill Ross, 1071 Chestnut Glen, Athens, Georgia. The simple recombination of this little sliver of land that when I built this subdivision 22 years ago or so, we thought it was a good idea since I was on the cul-de-sac and on the creek to give the other homeowners access to the creek. So we cut out this little sliver, 0.16 acres, and out of my property, my lot. And 22 years later, the 9 other homeowners have never used it. And we had a recent homeowners association meeting, and they asked me to recombine it with my property. They felt like it might be a potential, liability or something. And so they weren't using it. So they asked me to do this. That's what I'm doing. Okay.
This one, I don't have anyone signed up. You just come up and tell us anything about this request. All right, with that, I'll close the public comment section and get up here to the desk. We have any questions? Questions? You might try to get my attention, so I'll ask for your attention and motion. That's it. I have a first and a second. Right hand. Vote unanimous. Approve with. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Again, your next case is P 230181, Bessie Turnbull, owner and applicant. This is parcels A 05021B and A 05021BA along Maxey Road and Berta Drive. They're currently zoned AG in the Country Estates character area. And the request is to rezone the properties from AG to AR in order to develop a 4-lot residential subdivision. This is the concept plan that you have in your application packets, a slightly larger version showing the proposed 4 lots. Representative architectural photo. And staff recommends conditional approval with our standard 3 conditions. Thank you.
This time, could I ask the applicant or a representative to come up?
My name is Mike Ash. I live at 1140 Berta Drive. Now, this is right close to our family land. We've grown up there. I live the land directly behind this is where I live. And just trying to purchase it. I knew when it would come open that one day I might want to purchase it for development just for my family. I didn't want to see another subdivision there. It's farmland and we want to keep it acting pretty much like it is. It would just be those 4 lots there for family.
All right, so again, I don't have anybody that signed up out back, but anybody else want to speak in favor or? All right, so at the moment we're asking for anyone in favor. All right, I'll close that portion and I'll ask if there's any other concerned citizens. Well.
Good evening. My name is Jay Sultan. I live at 1181 Clotfelter Road. I don't know that it's specific to this specific rezone request because there may be other circumstances that I didn't read about in what was published. But I understood Country Estates to be a setting where the lots were going to be much larger, 3 to 4 acres. And 3 of these lots are 2 acres, which I think is more in keeping with, I forget what it is, the suburban neighborhood character setting. And so I guess the question is, I know it's not legally binding, but from y'all's perspective as commissioners, how closely do you try to stick to the specifications that are in the land use character area descriptions? And how does that apply to a rezone like this is a question that I would ask you.
All right, any other concerned citizens at this time? Great, I'll go ahead and close the public portion. Mr. Ash, do you have any other comments that you want to address? All right, then close the public. Yep. Bring it here. Mr. Chairman, if you don't echo the sentiment. Actually is smaller than state. Could be. Get to a motion, we can consider that. Any questions for? Guy, I'll go ahead and put you on the hot seat for a minute. what's the staff's thing? Approval, what was the thinking there?
Right, these are surrounded by similar acreage lots. So in general, any new subdivisions that were to come in, such as a major subdivision, would probably meet those standards that you were speaking of, Mr. Jenkins. But in this area, there's some smaller lots that are similar in size to these. And these were along road frontage, 2 road frontages that we felt like were appropriate.
I'll go ahead and ask Mr. Ash to come back to the podium for a minute. When you describe this as a family, are you needing to subdivide so that you can give each family member a parcel? Or
Yes, sir,
are they
that's-
actually gonna homes on this?
Yeah, that's correct. So just with the price of land in Oconee County, just trying to be able to get it affordable. And so I've got 4 kids. And so I'm trying to eventually have my kids live next to me on my property. So, wouldn't be building any huge houses, just to be small 1,800 square foot houses. And I feel like it'll be suitable on the property kind of where it's sitting. And I just don't want it developed into a huge subdivision. And so to make it feasible financially and just to divide it properly, I need the 4 lots. And that's why I had it divided that way. Yes, sir.
I just wanted us to hear these 2 different things. Of course, if we decide to approve, their plans may change and we do get. Thought I heard that it was going to be family holding the property and still using it as have at least foreseeable future. Just throw that out there. All right. Now, are there any other questions or discussion? So at this time, I will ask for a motion. Jim, if you still feel that you want to make that motion. It feels kind of awkward if you ask for. Also consider. Considering the future of this, I'm going. Or I should absolutely. We can make that motion. We can see if. I assume, Guy, we could do something like that. The homeowner asked it.
You can make a motion as you suggest, Jim. And it's a recommendation, obviously, to the Board of Commissioners, right? So this would be the recommendation from the Board of from the Planning Commission if there's a second and a favorable motion.
Limit it to 3. Five acre. We would only. Strictly ag. That's where you go AR.
The AR zoning minimum is 2 acres. Yes. Which is what they're requesting. Yes.
I'll second that. Second. I have a first and a second to approve with conditions. Raise your right hand if you. One with. All right, but that does finish up that one. That's got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, again, your next case is P 23-0185, Ted Christensen. This is in the town of Bishop. This is parcel BI 02004A and BI 02004A and 004. So two parcels zoned, currently zoned B1 along Macon Highway 441 in the historic Main Street character area. And the request is to rezone the property to B1 to allow for bed and breakfast and restaurant use. This is a change in use from proposed B1 that was previously approved by the city. This is a concept plan slightly enlarged. And these are the representative photos of the existing structures on the property to be used for the bed and breakfast and restaurant. And staff recommends conditional approval subject to the following conditions. Number 1 and 2 are our standard conditions. Number 3, in lieu of providing buffers as required per section 605, an evergreen landscape buffer shall be provided as a side yard buffer comprised of Japanese cryptomeria or green giant thuja, 6 feet tall at the time of planting, at 8 feet on center for the distance illustrated on the rezone concept plan. Thank you.
At this time, could I ask the applicant or an applicant's representative to come up?
Good evening. My name is Ted Christensen, 5330 High Shoals Road, Bishop, Georgia.
Go ahead and tell us what you have in mind here.
So
We've heard from staff, but
yes, we would like to convert this beautiful historic home into a bed and breakfast inn with 7 rooms. Initially, the kitchen in the back would be used to provide breakfast for the guests. But in the future, we thought about the possibility of having a small cafe. We could possibly do breakfast and lunch for community residents. And there's a 2.5 acre lot. And so we could envision in the future things like wedding receptions and, community events. This past week, we had the first community meeting in the home, and we look forward to opening it up to other community type events.
All right, I have a few people signed up to talk in favor of this. I'll go in order of your signing up. And I have a Ed Lane on my list first. Would you like to come up and?
I'm actually with the petitioner,
Yeah.
but if I could speak just to the condition, because we didn't get a copy of the staff report ahead of time. And so the 2 standard ones, and sorry, by the way, Ed Lane with SPG Planners and Engineers, live at 1171 Keeneland Drive in Bogart. Just about the 3rd condition about the evergreen hedge there. So the reason that we didn't include that is there are a lot of mature, beautiful trees in the back of this lot already. And it kind of blends nicely with the adjacent lots in that area. So we can do the buffer, but it kind of creates this artificial now line that messes up the character of all these mature trees that are in this area in general. So if you're on site, you can kind of really appreciate that. That was our reason for it. If we feel that it's necessary for the privacy of the neighbors, understood, but just wanted to give that rationale.
Have a Donna McPherson.
Donna McPherson, 1261 Old Bishop Road in Bishop, Georgia. And I'm speaking in favor of this. The downtown Bishop area is really starting to thrive. We currently have 4, very soon to have a 5th business. This would add a 6th. And we like to see the house used and in such a beautiful capacity. It's a beautiful home. And So we definitely hope that this will be approved. Thank you.
And it's that Maria Ramos.
Hi, good evening. Maria Ramos, 1100 Railroad Street. I agree with this petition for the rezoning project. We had our first fall festival in Bishop. I'm representing the Historic Bishop Committee tonight. We meet monthly, and we have a lot of events, free community events planned in Bishop. It's always a question of where to meet and where to park, and this home would provide that as well as some tax revenue for our little beautiful historic area. Thank you.
Right, that's everybody that has signed up. Do I have any other want to speak in favor? Right, I'll suspend that portion for the moment. Ask, is there anybody who wants to speak in opposition to that? I don't see anybody rushing the podium. I'm going to take the liberty of closing the public comment, bring it up here to my commissioner.
Can you address that buffer question?
Sure, if you'll give me the. If you'll notice, this is the concept plan that was submitted and the proposed hedge that's in this area. There is a parcel that comes to the rear. And then there's an adjacent parcel right here. We felt like with the increase in intensity of the parking area and potential traffic and headlights and that type of thing in that area, we felt like a stronger buffer would be appropriate. That was why we put that condition there.
And I'll ask you to come back for just a second. So regarding that, I'll pose my question while you're walking. As that condition number 3, it's not that you're directly opposed to it, it's that you think there could be some other compromise.
That's right. And so that area, if you see that, the narrow strip that was pulled up there, that is R1. But the parcel adjacent to that is actually B1. So that's the same zoning. And so the thought was, would we need this heavy buffer between the same zone, properties? Now, once you get to the rear, that is no longer the case. Those are R1. And that's the area where I was saying I didn't think we needed this extra artificial evergreen line because there's already a lot of mature trees there. But as far as the thuyas or the green giants, I would have to look to see if it fit. We may have to modify our parking to kind of fit those because those get rather large and we have a thin strip there. So there is that consideration as well.
Honey, I think get out of the weeds now, but put guys coming together with this. Parking span, and it's really only on that border that we talked. So clarify that for yourself. All right, are there any other questions like that or? Okay, so I don't see anybody rereading their packets, so I'll ask, is there a motion?
That the buffer is saying, but saying that the buffer still the size of the property that period from parking.
As I read the condition, it says, this guy pointed it out, it's really only that side that. Staff's, okay, so I have a motion of Jeff to approve with staff conditions 2 and 3. I'll second. So at this time, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. With conditions. Fair enough. Ask you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Your next case is P 23-0186, Marcia Rogers and Melissa Finnerty. This is located on Hog Mountain Road 53. It is parcel A 02025B. Currently zoned OIP in the suburban neighborhood character area. And the request is to rezone the property from OIP to OIP with modified conditions, changing the concept plan and the use proposed. This is the concept plan that's slightly enlarged. This is the previous rezone from 2841. You have this in your packet, and this shows the previously proposed offices that were to be built on the property, and parking and stormwater proposed. And again, this is the current proposal, moving the parking to the front, building to the rear, and septic and stormwater. These are the representative photos that's submitted with the application packet. And staff recommends conditional approval with our standard 3 conditions, with condition number 4, development design and structure shall conform to the standards approved in association with the rezone case number 2841 approved in 2003, and with the associated development intent with regards to site design and architecture. Specifically, these standards included the location of parking primarily to the rear of the proposed structures and out of view, architectural design compatible with residential architecture in the vicinity, and landscaping that provides visual buffering and beautification along the Hog Mountain Road frontage. Building facade materials shall be primarily brick, stucco, masonry products with design detailing that maintains a residential feel and blends in with the surrounding homes of the area. This condition shall not construe approval of any standards as not conformity with the UDC. And number 5, all dumpster and waste containers areas shall be in an enclosed structure away from the public view. And number 6, required stormwater detention facilities shall be located to the rear of the property and out of public view. Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask the applicant or the applicant's representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Justin Greer, 1050 Barber Creek Drive, Suite 400. The applicants have owned the property since '02, and they currently own the property that surrounds it, the subject tract to the east and to the south. So they kind of wrap around the property that's in question tonight. That property was owned A1 to OIP in January of '03, and they've owned it since then. In the original narrative, the property was specifically zoned as a general office use for the applicant's development business. And like I said, on that original plan, can we go? So on the original plan. Yes, Red. So it had 2 buildings, and those buildings were 7125 square feet each, total of 14,000 square feet. And we had parking. I didn't get that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Sorry. I got you. My fat finger. So we had GDOT access up here to the west. And then it had parking in the rear. So our current plan, we're proposing kind of go down in square footage, about 9,200 square feet, and to be used as medical use. We've shown our entrance to the east, and that's to the Vintage Farms access is here to meet GDOT standards on separation. We had to move it here to get the decel lane in because of the required speed limit on Hog Mountain Road. Perimeter buffers are larger. The old plan required 10 foot around the sides, and the new UDC is 25 foot, so we've provided that. around the property here. I do want to address the condition number 4. And as Guy mentioned in that condition, it says, development design and structure shall conform to the standards approved in association with the rezone case number 2841 approved in 03. And with intent to regards of the site design and architecture, specifically, the standards include the location of the park and primarily to the rear. And that's the one we kind of have issue with. We feel that the concept plan presented before you tonight is a better layout than the 03 plan. And especially in light of the development that has occurred along Hog Mountain, back toward 78, the interchange there. Since 2003, Grace Baptist Church and Vintage Oak Farms event venue were both completed and neither have parking to the rear of the buildings. They both have parking out front. We also feel that pushing that building up to the street is an aesthetic that is typically observed in an urban setting. And when you want to try to do pedestrian access, you would push that building forward. So we're trying to soften that frontage a little bit so you're not just right up on the road. The original plan had 57 parking spaces and we're showing 41. That's 28% less. We're trying to do a smaller development. And our plan is we're trying to, the septic field, we anticipate it to be on the east side adjacent to the residential. So we're kind of pushing everything back toward the Vintage Farms development. We also feel that, architectural styles and preferences has changed tremendously since 03. The examples that we have provided are more kind of that modern farmhouse fashion. And so it's the black brick, white siding, metal roof. And that's being built a lot these days. And so that's kind of what's in fashion right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions about our layout or our plan that you may have. Thank you.
All right, so according to the sign-up sheet, I didn't have anybody else wanting to speak in favor. Do I have anybody that wants to speak against this? Right.
Again, Jay Sultan, 1181 Clotfelter. And again, I think I'm not here to oppose a specific request, but to ask you guys some more general questions. Obviously, this is a rezone from OIP to OIP, but the area is a suburban neighborhood. The only commercial organizations I can think of are the wedding venue, which is adjacent to it, and it's going to actually have views into this. I didn't see anything in the site plan that's really going to protect the views from that wedding venue property into this very kind of commercial looking development. My larger question is, do we really want commercial development on Hog Mountain, that part of Hog Mountain Road? I know there's commercial activities like Washington Farms, churches and all that. I'm not suggesting that shouldn't happen. My concern is this gets built 3 years from now, somebody's here saying, well, we want to build a whole bunch of more office buildings contiguous or in the same area with the argument that this set the precedent. So again, I recognize the precedent was already set. This rezoning happened long before any of y'all were on the commission. My question to you is, in the current proposal coming to you, what can be done to lessen the impact of taking this very kind of rural country area and starting to put office buildings in it, which is what it feels like is being tipped into? So question for y'all about what do you do about zoning that's already happened? And as the opportunity to touch it comes up, what can be done to mitigate some of those consequences? Thank you.
You. All right, I think I'm just going to go ahead and, I don't have anybody else that needs to speak. I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment. We still have some time and we the opportunity to bring the its rep and Mr. Herring back up here to answer questions. Up here.
I noticed that one of the approved sidings stuck up. I assume that's a hard coat, genuine masonry stucco, not.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
if you push it right up on the road, the building. I guess from our standpoint, from a design element is usually we don't see that unless it's in an urban setting. And you'd push that building up to the road where you had walkability and access on the front side. So for a medical office, what we're going to end up having to do is all your access is still going to be in the rear with false fronts. Those will never be used. They'll just be aesthetic. And we still treat those as fronts and all your services in the rear. Usually we don't see that in a kind of rural setting. You'd push that building, kind of get it off the road so it's not so commanding right there on the road as you're coming out through there. And I think we did try to, you know, as far as the original plan, we did try to lessen the impact on such scale. You know, we tried to come back down, and there are some buffers that wrap around for the adjoining property, that adjoining commercial property. So does that help answer?
Yeah. The view shed along 53 is what we were trying to protect, right? And so when you put parking up there, it doesn't necessarily do that when you put a big parking lot out there. If we can go back to, let's see if we have an aerial shot. Yeah. You'll notice, you know, this parking area is a gravel parking area for intermittent use, right? It's not a daily use. And it is somewhat shielded from the road, especially with pasture, barn, and additional this little finger of forested area. You know, when you propose parking right along the road, this will be extremely visible. And what we're trying to avoid is having that large parking area out front. Maybe pulling it around the side. Maybe you split it. Maybe there's a small parking area in the front, sliding this slightly forward, opening up some wider green space along Hog Mountain, as was, you know, previously shown. You can see the setback with the parking to the rear. I think what they didn't contemplate maybe in this is the amount of septic or environmental health requirements. They show their septic out front, whether that's an appropriate location or not from an environmental health standpoint or a usable soil standpoint, that hasn't been determined. But what they had proposed was providing that green space and maintaining that view shed along 53, and that's what we were hoping to try to maintain as well through that condition.
Yeah, those sort of sorted out. Any other questions? That time I urge you to consider a motion. Right. All right, so we have Chris making a motion to approve with all 6 conditions. Second. All right, so with the first and a second to approve with 6 recommendations from staff, I'll now ask for right hands. That is all the requests that we had for today. I want to remind the commissioners that next month's meetings are November 13th, December 11th. All right. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved. Nathan? Second. Just got the second. Don't stand up in the next 20 minutes.